Was there?
Something moved in the closet.
Wonder if it's an alligator. Okay, here's a gloomy day in Florida, and we're in Sanibel Island. Sanibel looks pretty good after the hurricane. Fort Myers Beach still looks like shit. This house right here, it's been marked as unsafe. We're actually tearing this down in the next day or two. Here's what we're doing. We're checking this out to see if there's anything in here that's worth keeping, okay? Now, who knows? Most of it's been ruined. It's been sitting here for a long time. I see a nice washing machine over there, but I'm not sure that's in good shape. Sometimes there's some really nice stuff that's left in this, stuff that can take water, that can take salt water, so on and so forth. We don't know what's left in here. We actually brought our ladder. We're gonna check the attic on this one. This house would have had water up to here. Look at that garage door. So we're gonna go look at this. This is like a time warp. So this happened 36 months ago, September 28th. 2022 was the date. This has been sitting like this ever since then. So now they're tearing it down. I don't know if they're being forced to tear it down or they're tearing it down. They're definitely being forced to tear it down in the sense that it's an unsafe building. They could rebuild this. Maybe it doesn't fit the 50% rule. All right, come on, let's go check it out. Speaking of the attic, it's not hard to tell what's in the attic. So this is what happens when a hurricane comes through. Look at all the different things that are in here. Like this gizmo right here, that's a nice little vacuum cleaner. That's a little tiny one, and it's gonna be shot because the salt water will corrode it so fast it's not funny. So you've got these cages, those shelves, you got all kinds of stuff in here that, you know, they could be reused. Most people don't want rusted up stuff, so that's not good. This washing machine is shot. This looks like it's brand spanking new. They definitely didn't put this on after the fact, but this doesn't show an age on it, but it's definitely been in water. Looky here. I've been needing a rubber mallet and not wanting to buy one, knowing that I would come across one. So we'll take that with us. All right, let's go on in the house and see. So this is what happens when you get a Category 4 hurricane that comes in and sets right on top of your island for 10 hours. And this is what happens to the house. So a lot of the furniture and stuff is missing. Now, it might be missing because the water blew through that wall, knocked this door out, and sent it down the street, okay? We don't know that, but most of the furniture in here is gone. The furniture would have been ruined. So look at this stuff. This is some pretty cool stuff. Look at this. Look at that. Hey, is this what they say when you got patina on it? Look at that, that's pretty cool. Even rusted up, that's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah, got some nice dog bowls there. What is this? Man, I'll tell you what, I think there's still a market for this stuff, even though it's all rusted up. I think people would think that's pretty cool. What do you think? Maybe? So check this out. That door is right there. So the water rushed through this house, busted through the garage door, came through that wall, came through this door, blew the door out here, and their furniture probably ended up way over there somewhere. All their furniture just got forced out of the house. So here's another find. Now, I don't know. I think some people like that rusted stuff. I gave somebody something a couple days ago that had some rust on it, and they thought it was cool. So, at any rate, we're gonna take this with us. That's gonna become part of my yard art. Now check this one out. Now somebody could, if they didn't want this in present condition, they could clean this up. But that's pretty cool, right? That's pretty cool. So what does it say? Pool reserved for tenants only, which there's something about this little boat that I just find very interesting. All right, now let's talk about the scrap metal here on this pool cage. So this is called extruded aluminum. It's going to be dirty extruded aluminum because it'll have little regular magnetic ferrous iron screws in it. Here's where all your furniture is. Look at that. Now we know where the furniture went. It all went into the pool. So this is the washing machine. Somehow got into the pool. All this ferrous metal here, this is going to be probably about $1,000 worth of aluminum. So the guys will pull off the super gutter off the back, which is up above us. This is all ferrous. This is a super gutter. This is all ferrous aluminum. Not ferrous, I'm sorry, not ferrous. sorry, extruded aluminum. This is all extruded aluminum. This is extruded aluminum. All of this is extruded aluminum. That fence back there, we put that up. That's a silt fence. And the guys put that up because on Sanibel, you have certain requirements to tear down a house that you have to follow. Those are hurricane shutters. We'll pull them off and we'll recycle them. We'll pull these off and recycle them. Okay, so look back in here. Look at these. We've bought some of these for our Airbnbs before. I think they were like 80 bucks a piece. This one here is pretty nice. This is the taller one. You know, could this stuff be cleaned up? The amount of labor that would take to clean them up it's not gonna be a good bang for your buck. So somebody would have to rewire that. It's actually damaged at the bottom. But look at this. Look at all this stuff down here. My house got 6 foot of water in Hurricane Ian too. And this stuff right here was on the top of the tile. And with it being on top of the tile, it was almost like you were skating on ice. When you walked in, I had to hold my furniture. My furniture was all toppled sideways and stuff. I had to hold my furniture to try to not fall down when I was in my living room. And it had a really nasty stink to it. And I don't know where this stuff comes from. You don't see stuff like this on the beach. You don't see it on the bottom of the ocean or when you're walking through in the salt water. I don't know where it comes from. So if you look in here, okay, here's a whole bunch of plates, a whole matching set of plates. So those will go to one of our Airbnbs. You know, this is kind of cute. That'll go to an Airbnb. And there's all kinds of stuff in here too, but this is all ruined. This is all party supplies. But you know, some of the stuff is pretty cool. You know, that's Christmas stuff. All right, let's go and see if there's anything else in here. I'll check this out.
You know what that's for?
What a shame.
It's a video game guitar.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's like a game that teaches you how to play guitar, and that's what you use.
Wow, very cool. Well, it's definitely seen better days. Got some pots. And these look like they might be stainless steel. Yeah, but it's all rusted up. Yeah, people don't much care for rusted up stuff. This is pretty nice. We're making a pile. And I'll say, hey guys, bring that pile to the shop. All right, let's go in here. So the front door made it. Okay, here's your water line. Okay. Now you say, well, Dave, you said it was this high. Okay, Hurricane Ian, I guarantee it was. But might be Milton. This could have been Milton. Or this is where it sat for a while, but this would have been to the top of this house. So coming down through here, it's pretty messy. Got that silt's on the ground. So coming in here, getting in here, the bed is in the way. So look at the toys there. So is there anything in here worth messing with? There's some kids' toys over here. I got my foot stuck. Some kids' toys. Yeah, pretty much everything's ruined. The kids' toys, even these they're just dirty. I don't know what those are. Interesting. Got some nice shoes. Here you go. Yeah. These are Keens. Those are pretty nice. Somebody can use those.
Right above the water line too.
Yeah, so they haven't even been wet. Although those are made to be wet. Okay, so the elevation on this house must be higher on the island than what I'm thinking it is. Because these pillows are not wet and haven't ever been wet. So I was wrong. It wasn't all the way to the top. That's the water line. Okay, that's the Ian water line. Look it up there. You see it?
Oh.
Dirt daubers. So those are hornets mainly. So here you go. Nice set of linens. Another one of these nice, cool, beachy type lamps. In here, yeah, there's really not much in here. So I'm looking at the windows. The windows are old style aluminum windows, not something we want to mess with. You could have some little fishies for your, keep your tub from being so slippery. So check this out. Look at the dirt on the countertop. Look at that. Look, R.I.P. was here. What do you think about that? See the water line again here? So everything down in, pretty much everything in here at this point, having sat this long, is just too dirty, too risky to use. So what do you think? Can a bond ringer bike helmet be in salt water and still be good? I would think so. That's brand spanking new.
Yeah.
This is kind of nice. A doggy step. Still in rough condition though. It's all exploded.
That was a good pun.
Nice.
Rough condition.
Rough condition. All right. Bubble wrap. We'll reuse that. Oh, sorry. And then that, yeah. Looks like it's real wood, but it's not. You see how it's exploded right here? So, right here. Nice stuff. I mean, this stuff here it probably would wash up. I don't know. I don't know that it's worth the effort. There is a couple things in this house that can be repurposed. For example, I think that this thing right here, which somebody put their tender loving care into, it's solid wood. It's made out 2x4s. It looks like it'll hold up just fine. We'll take that with us. So you need some fresh stuff crystals for your titty tat? No? All right. We'll bring this with us. So check out this. Where the water was pushing back and forth inside of there, or there was something really big on the other side, and it busted through this wall.
I wonder if that's the water flowing in from the garage and then coming through this back door.
Well, what happens, yeah, who knows what that was, because it doesn't make sense. Because see, it would have been the other side of this wall.
Right.
I don't know. That's interesting. So think about that. Look at what happened here. Oh, something fell down into it. Huh. I wonder what that was. Kind of fascinating. Different kind of drywall. Look at the way this is made.
Right. It's got layers to it.
Can't be wasting these shoes now. Oh yeah, here's another bedroom. Again, another big fat zero. You see the mold building up on this. So that's definitely a no bueno. TV. This is the master, so this is a closet slash, oh, this is a good sized room in here. So look what happens when you let something like that sit. You see it? And this lamp is in amazingly good condition. So we'll take that with us. All right, so this is the master bathroom. Look at the way this, look at that. And then look up here. Those are some good finds. How you like that? Excelente. And then all these hangers are still good too. So we got some cool stuff. We got some more bubble wrap. Hell yeah. Gotta love it. No matter what the house looks like, there's always goodies inside. All right, can I get out of here with all this stuff in my... Isn't that something? We got too many finds to get through the partially open door. All right, wow. Wow. So I'm gonna take this stuff on out to the truck. You know what? What is back in here? This is another bedroom maybe, huh? Yeah, it's another bedroom. Yeah, there's not much in here either. Was there?
Something moved in the closet.
Wonder if it's an alligator. There's 2 of them. So these benches, oh, there's something in there.
What is it?
I don't know. You hear it?
Yeah, I know. I definitely heard it.
Wonder if it's a cat. He's like, what the heck? Who the heck are these guys?
My house.
What do you mean you tearing my house down? Okay, so let's go into the kitchen here. It looks like there's all kinds of goodies in the kitchen. Okay, when I say that, what I'm talking about is dishes and stuff like that. So this kind of stuff is repurposable easily, reusable, washes up just fine. It's a shame, look at what happened to all the silverware, it's all rusted up. But these plates, they're pretty nice. Well, these 2 aren't. So here we go, ready? So all these appliances, what will happen is when we're doing the demo, the guys will make a pile of scrap metal and then they'll put it into a dumpster. I'll go back to my shop and they'll go through it and separate it all. This is something that I find in a lot of houses and they end up in my yard. I put all these shells in my yard. It's kind of my little thing, my little pet project.
That's a nice painting for being on the floor.
Yeah, well,
Not moved out for the fact.
I'm sure that was hanging up. Nice enough you want it?
No.
It's got dirt daubers on the back of it. So I got my my boat. So I mean, we don't see a lot of these kind of shells in on Fort Myers Beach, but they may be, these pink ones, they may be something that is common to off the shore here, and then all them little gizmos. So what I'm gonna do with these is I'm gonna take them, put them in my yard, toss them all over, and it'll just add to the variety of shells that I have in my yard. Okay, so when these guys are done, this lot will be completely smooth. We'll pull out everything that Sanibel allows us to pull out. They're very particular about their trees and stuff like that. They do like a tree survey. And when you're done, they do another tree survey. If you notice, you see this tree has a pink tag on it. So that says that stays. This pink one says that stays. Those pink ones over there say those stay. So a lot of this stuff is probably just normal landscape type shrubbery and they don't really care about it. Like this tree right here growing up here, that's more or less is just a big weed. And this is how much your yard grows up when you're on a barrier island in 3 years if you don't do anything to it. If you turn around here and look around in the neighborhood, you could see got some really expensive houses here. These are actually on the ocean. This is across the street from the ocean, and you see how they've got them put back together. Notice that that house's elevation, that house probably got just a little bit of water in it, because if you figure out where the water line is on this one, that one probably did okay. So how do these guys know this stuff, you know, when they're building these houses? So that was probably built in the 90s or the early 2000s, and they knew to elevate it a certain amount. This one over here looks like it's completely elevated. That one looks like it's elevated. Elevated on a barrier island around here is 10 foot to 11 foot. And at that point, what happens is you don't get into the storm surges. Historically, we haven't had storm surges that are beyond those numbers in the last like 500 years. Okay, so the big find on this one's going to be the pool cage. The pool cage is going to be about $1,000 to $1,500 worth of aluminum on this whole house. All these shutters here are aluminum. The pool cage is aluminum. The doors, the windows, not all the doors, but some of the doors are all aluminum. So we're thinking about our biggest find on this one is going to be those lamps and the pool cage and my new yard art. Okay, here we are in Sanibel. This is another one of these hurricane ravaged houses. Notice the guitar on the roof there. So this house was left untouched, and actually the city of Sanibel is having us tear this down. So I don't know what the scenario is for the owner. Who knows? It might be an estate or something, or something else happened, or maybe, who knows? Maybe they passed away. Larry, this is our 323 Caterpillar. It's a 2018 model. Basically, what he's doing right now is he's going to get the roof off of this house. So he just broke the tie beam, and he's getting himself into the point where he can get inside of the garage. And he's going to travel inside of that house, and he's going to take all the construction debris. We call it C&D. That's our slang term for it. The thing about a house like this is it's a little scary. The backyard of this house, there's some water there, and on the other side of the road, it is a gigantic preserve. And this is old Florida style kind of a place, you know. Sanibel's got all kinds of biking trails. I think they said 45 miles of biking trails. And Ding Darling's real close to here. So there is, Mother Nature is living wide open here. Now, why did I bring that up? Well, when we got here, the grass was really tall, you know. Basically hadn't been touched since Hurricane Ian hit. And that would have been 3 years ago. So there's a story I was telling Hudson, my the editor, cameraman. I was telling him on the way there. I said there was a lady doing some landscaping at her house, and she got ate by an alligator. And what I was telling him is, when I drove by that house, I saw that the grass was really high. So the thing about alligators, though, they make these little tunnels in the grass, so you kind of know that they're living close by. But by the time that you see this, we've been there, we've cleaned this house out, and we went ahead and got the things that we were keeping and selling at the shop. We got them all. So the grass is trampled down a little bit more. This is about probably 200 feet from the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America, whichever way you're leaning. Personally, I want to call it the Gulf of Sanibel. That's a 40-yard dumpster right there. So he's going to drop that dumpster, then we're going to take all that roofing material and the 2x4s and all that stuff, and we're going to load it all into that container, and then he'll take it to the C&D yard, the transfer station. The thing about this particular location, what happens is we end up with a very long trip time, because getting on and off of Sanibel it takes some time. In season, it takes a lot of time. Right now, their turnaround time to the dump was about 2 hours. We're running 2 different trucks here. So a lot of the metal that was on this house, we had the guys just pick it up by hand. You're seeing the garage door there. The garage door is 10 cents a pound. It's not worth the effort to try to separate it and to get it into something and take it to the metal yard. It'll still get recycled, because when we get it to the transfer station, those people will pull the metal out of their loads, and to them it's just free money. So it still gets up recycled, but you got to do things that make sense. You know, scrap metal at 10 cents a pound, and it's really large, and you would have to make a special trip for it. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, by the time you pay your labor, you pay your fuel and your wear and tear on your vehicle and all that, you got to make it make sense. Now, this house had a bunch of aluminum on it. It's kind of an interesting situation on this house, because what you can see what happened is the water came through and busted through the garage door, and it knocked the walls out behind the garage, and it knocked the sliders off their tracks, and you could see most all the furniture was in the pool. So all the living room furniture was in the pool. I think the dryer or the washer, one of the two, was in the pool. But the pool was just full of debris. So what happened with these houses is a lot of them, the hurricane came through, pushed all the water out, and knocked it into the canals. If you're in certain parts of the area, see there's a lagoon set up behind this house. Like I said, literally living here is like living in the middle of a park. The birds and the animals have free reign here on Sanibel, and they're protected. It's not like, say, Fort Myers Beach, where, you know, most of the vegetation's stripped out of it. It had plenty of vegetation before the hurricane, but nothing like Sanibel. Sanibel's been a protected environment since its inception. It's really a pristine place to go. And Ding Darling, they have I don't know how many mile track through that, and it's kind of like a state
park. Well, it is a state park. I don't know if it's a state park or not. I don't know if it's owned by Sanibel or the state, but it's a park and it's nice. You can drive through it and you can go right through, and you're right between. You're going right down the middle of these bays, and you know the bird life, the fish life, the iguanas, the alligators. You see all of it. I'll tell you a story about one day I rode out there. I love Florida. I mean, I came from Cincinnati, Ohio. Pretty gloomy up there for a good part of the year. When I would come down here, I would bring my bikes and we would ride through Dean Darling. So over the years, I went over there multiple times. This is us hunting for some goodies in the attic. We couldn't find any goodies in the attic when we were there. Leaving Cincinnati, coming down here, riding my bike on Dean Darling. Well, one day I rode my bike. I had this old hoopty Ford Ranger, and I do the bike ride. I come back and I lay something on the ground. I forget what it was, maybe my backpack. And I put the bike in the back of the truck. I got in the truck and I drove off. And I realized I left my backpack. So I came back, and there's a freaking alligator sitting right next to where I was parked. I getting out, going, "Oh my God, how am I going to get my freaking backpack?" Well, one of the people comes over to me and he says, "Dude, we saw you come and get in your car and you didn't even notice that alligator." I'm like, "No kidding, I didn't notice it. And how in the world do you?" It's like a 6-foot alligator. I'm like, so he was right alongside of where I was parked on the other side, on the passenger side. I didn't notice it. All right, there's my alligator story. So that lady that got bit, or more or less she got eaten by this alligator. She was doing some landscaping in her yard, and the alligator came up and got her and twisted her around, and and literally was chewing on her. One of the neighbors heard her screaming and came over and started beating on the alligator to let him through, but it was too late. The alligator had ripped her arm off and some other graphic, terrible things like that. This is something we decided, instead of having a fuel truck come, we come and we pull fuel off of our truck from the semis to fill up the excavators. So it just saves us some cost. So there's that board that fell off the back of that truck. So this is another roll-off. We have 2 roll-off trucks. Those are 40-yard dumpsters. The reason they would not have used the 30-yarder here is there's some tight turn, or there's some wires that are too low. And when Colton goes out to look at these jobs, he checks that kind of stuff out. So does Talon. So, and in these older neighborhoods, sometimes the wires are too low, and you can't take a really tall semi back in there. So then these roll-off trucks are the better option. They're just a little bit shorter. So this is, one dumpster after another of construction debris. And what determines construction debris? Pretty much, for the simplest way to explain it would be to say, if it's not metal and if it's not concrete, for the purposes of what we're doing, it is construction debris. Now, they really don't want couches, they don't want mattresses and stuff like that, but when you're tearing down a whole house, they will put up with a little bit of that. If you notice, we've got our signage on all these trucks and all the trailers and everything like that. So what he's doing right there is he's putting water on the concrete because we're going to start tearing this down. It'll just keep the dust down while he's doing this. So we're at the point now where we cleaned the house out. We're just down to just concrete. Okay, there is some construction debris that's still there. You see it. So now he's taking some of that. I see what he's doing. He's just using that to get the water out of the pool. Now, some people will say, well, why don't you pump the pool out? We could, but we could do it with the excavator bucket. It doesn't really make sense. The amount of time it takes to maintain the trash pump and to keep it with us on one of the trucks and so on and so forth. We do have it there. It's just as easy just to do what we do. By the time you crack the shell open, the water just dissipates anyway. So, whether you pump it out and it's on the side of the pool or you get the water dispersed by cracking the side of the pool, what difference does it make? The water table here is so high. You dig down 3 feet and you got water. This house elevation is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 feet above sea level based off where the water line was in the house. When I first got to this house, I just assumed it was the same elevation as my house on Fort Myers Beach. A lot of that stuff is very similar from one neighborhood to the next. They just have a minimum elevation. But that doesn't mean that the ground elevation in this area wasn't a little bit higher already. This ground elevation here might have been 12 because my house, I got 6 foot of water in it. This house looked like it had about 4 to 5 foot of water in it. Pretty much same scenario that I had over on Fort Myers Beach. So Sanibel and Fort Myers Beach literally got hammered by Hurricane Ian, and then it got hit again by Milton and got hit again by Helene. And the thing about these hurricanes, Helene and Milton were basically just storm surge. Hurricane Ian literally hit us as a direct impact, pretty much Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel. So what happened with that is it was a Category 4 hurricane that came and was moving very, very, very slow. And it more or less, it just sat right on top of Sanibel and Fort Myers Beach, pretty much the whole area, but that's what was its direct impact. That was September 22nd, 2022. No, it wasn't the 22nd, it was the 28th. Basically, what happened is it came, and as soon as it made landfall, it stopped. It sat there for 10 hours and it brought a storm surge. If you look at the NOAA site, it said 14 foot. Where my house was, floor elevation in my house is a 10. And I had 6 foot of water. So that was a 16 foot storm surge where I was at. Now, that storm surge, you got to remember, it's sloshing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So it could have been 14, but when it was sloshing back and forth, it was, went up to that 16. We had 4 cars here and we moved 3 of them. We really didn't. We've had so many close calls for so long that a lot of people, they just like, whatever, hurricane, no big deal. Well, when Hurricane Ian came in, well, that's a whole different ballgame because that was the real deal. And when it came in, there's people that should have left that didn't leave, and some of them didn't make it. Right now, you see everything you see that's left is pretty much a little bit of C&D in the corner, and then the rest of this is all concrete. So he's getting the water out of the concrete. He's already pulled the debris out of the pool. And the debris in the pool would have been, appliances. It would have been the couches and stuff like that. This right here is a little bit heavier load, and that's going to go to the C&D dump as well. When it gets mixed up that much, they really don't want it at the concrete dump. So hopefully that's all that we had to take that got mixed up with the dirt. So that's why when we're doing these jobs, we try to put keep all the C&D inside of the house while we're working. That way we're not carting off so much of the dirt, because when you pick up the debris, you end up getting a little bit of dirt. When you're new at this, what you end up doing is you end up removing like 10 tons of dirt that you don't really need to move, and then you have to bring dirt back in because you created a big hole. After doing hundreds of these things, you learn these lessons, these expensive lessons. So this right here, this is all concrete debris at this point. And they'll take about 5% of non-concrete. Like they'll take those plastic pipes and stuff. Ideally, they don't want any of that, but they will put up with a certain amount of it because that's just the way it is. And you noticed a lot of that in that particular load was dirt. So that's what he's doing right here, is trying to use the teeth to let the dirt slide out and then just get the concrete. Because it would take so long to do this by hand, it's just something that everybody just has to put up with. Now notice the steel cage on the excavator. For the longest time, we didn't do that, and we were fixing windshields. Like, let's just put it this way, we repaired a lot of windshields. So we put that on there. It's a safety thing more than it is protecting the windshield, but it does do a good job protecting the windshield, because you just never know what might come back and slam into the machine. The windows are pretty tough, though. They can take quite a beating. What he's doing here is he's getting the last bit of the pool out. He's playing around, and he's doing this slow so that he doesn't splash too much nasty water up on his windshield and he won't be able to see. And he's looking for the last little bit of concrete at the bottom of the pool. One of the things that we do is we just make sure we get everything. These are long-term customers. We're working for the same people over and over and over, and what they're doing is we want to make sure that we get everything. So when they bring the piling crew in, the piling guy doesn't have to order an excavator to pull out the last few things that were left over from the demo contractor. Here we are. We're getting to the very tail end of this thing. The site's getting more and more clean. When we're done, it'll be a nice, beautiful, smooth lot. They can build anything they want here.
then the grand total is $1,015. So in this property, basically the majority of the value is come from the scrap metal. This house has sat empty for 3 years. Actually, most everything ended up in the pool. So here we are. This house it's gone. Right over there, about 200 feet, that's the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America, whichever one you want to call it. We're gonna call it the Gulf of Sanibel for this particular situation. The house is gone. Right behind this house is a preserve. On the other side of the street, which comes into here, is a gigantic preserve. And there will be definitely alligators in here and every kind of little critter that belongs in Florida. There's going to be iguanas and alligators and every kind of bird you can think of. So basically what we're doing right now is we're getting down to the very last part of this. They got a little bit of stuff left. That's a pile that's been created by the skid steer cleaning the lot up. And they're just basically making everything nice and smooth so that when we're gone, the lot looks really nice. You can put grass on it, and then whoever's shopping for a lot, that might mean something to them. If you ask about the white pipes are basically the sprinkler heads and stuff that were in the yard when he's grading the yard, and he's pulled that out. Some of it came out with the concrete, and when they were doing the foundations, what they did is they pulled that stuff out by hand out of the concrete recycling. They don't really want that stuff. They'll take a small amount of it, but they don't want that stuff. He is doing this, waiting for the truck to get back here. We got about a 2-hour turnaround time coming out here to Sanibel. They're gonna get this thing loaded up a little bit later on. They'll get the machine out of here. They're gonna get this last little bit. They're gonna sweep up the road and we're done. All right, so code enforcement stopped by and they're just kind of reminding us that we need to clean this mess up off the street. And they actually had us tear this house down. I'm not sure what the scenario was with the owner. I don't know if they passed or if they're in financial distress, which these kind of things can really do to people. But we talked about several that are coming up that we're doing. He's seen our silt fences on them. He's been watching our videos and stuff, and they ask and use us. We are very thankful. We don't understand why Fort Myers Beach doesn't use us, but these guys do, which is kind of funny. So, but at any rate, we're blessed. We're blessed for what we get. What's our theory?
That the guy who owns a demolition company is also the head of the council of Fort Myers Beach.
Yeah, but he's not doing them either. That's Honk. He's not doing them either. So I don't know what's going on, but we're not even allowed to bid on them. They're not even letting us bid on them, which is bizarre to me. So, but everybody's got complaints about Fort Myers Beach. All right, so if you want to support what we're doing here, we've got t-shirts, we've got hats, we've got stickers, we've got little lanyards, we got a whole bunch of stuff, and you can find that link down in the first comment, or you can find it on the description. So, hey, if you like this video, you got to check out this 7-story building we tore down right on the beach in Fort Myers Beach. It's phenomenal.